me. It's Michael. Let's make history.
Who's there? Who's there? Who's there? Who's there?
Hello, Adam Rayner, Talk Audio TV. You're looking at a couple of enormous subwoofers and a cluster of Meyer sound loudspeakers, and I am in one heck of a privileged spot. This is the inside of the auditorium for the Michael Jackson 1 show by Cirque du Soleil here at the Mandalay Bay, and I've been given the most amazing access, well, to the gentleman in charge of sound. This is Mr. Aaron Beck, who, like me, if anybody's phone goes off in their pocket, you get phone first, Aaron, don't you?
Usually,
unless you
yes.
know an Aaron or an Abraham, in my case Adam, yes, so we get phone first, don't we?
Yes.
Now, we came and saw this show last year and were absolutely, completely blown away, my wife and I. And I've basically swag permission to come and ask about the kit. So, Aaron, tell us, that diagram on the screen there, that is... Just sweep across this awesome desk here. This is a control for the show. This is the main audio equipment behind the proscenium arch for the show, is it not?
Yes. We're looking at Meyer Sound's RMS speaker monitoring system. And this tab specifically, we're looking at the main proscenium left and right loudspeakers, which are Meyer Sound's mica loudspeakers, along with some 1100 LFC, low frequency subwoofers that we use for left and right low frequency reinforcement in the theater.
You were saying that those subwoofers, when we were talking earlier, were one of the things that were suddenly upgraded when the governor heard them being demonstrated. So we have to have these.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, seriously potent. So that's what's behind the proscenium arch. The stuff I was all zoomed in on just now was, well, the auditorium is bristling with other enclosures. The 4 clusters of 3 are at the top of that, are the ones right by the stage, are they not?
Yes.
And then there's another couple of those 1100 woofers that are hanging up. What are these enclosures? Because there's lots of them.
These are Meyer Sound's JM1P horizontal array loudspeakers.
And the sheer number of them means that every row is getting near field, are they not?
Yes.
Which means that the overall SPL in here is, as my mate Mick would say, able to crush. You do know each other if you're in the same biz, don't you? Yeah. You can tell he's my mate, yes. But this is just the main audio scene. Show us the surround screen, Aaron, because there's lots on that.
Yeah, we've got a total of 67 surround speakers.
My goosebumps come up.
Everything from, this is almost every series in Meyer Sound products. We've got MSL4s, we've got UPQs, we've got UPJs, we've got some older legacy MTS4A loudspeakers pointing straight down. We've got some melodies, we've got some M1Ds, and even some micas.
One of the deals with the triple cluster that I'm just zooming in on here is that they've got different throws, have they not?
Yeah.
So although they are, if I just lift up here and go off to the wall, we're looking at I'm not sure if my camera's going to see that, but the idea is that everybody gets near field intensity because there's one that's long throw and one that's a rather shorter throw.
Yeah, Jonathan Deans, the sound designer, kind of likes to work in layers. So if you're in the middle of the theater, you're going to get a little of the MSL4 and a little bit of the UPQ and a very even left to right surround image. If you're, say, in the left of the theater, you're going to hear this smaller box, short throw UPJ, along with an MSL4 from the other side. So kind of wherever you're at, left to right in the theater, you get that very even surround sound image.
Which is crucial to the whole sort of emotional involvement, isn't it?
Yeah, it just gives you that very kind of close experience. And we do the same type of thing with the rear surround. So M1Ds in the back for short throw, and then a little bigger box melodies, and then some micas. So kind of front to back, get that same layered effect with surround there.
And well, I've heard some other insights from other Cirque shows here in town that you were telling me about, that the technology that you had in common and that you didn't, but because of course this is proscenium arch production as against in the round. But I'm laughing at myself, and the thing I'm almost most excited about, just immediately to the side of your head there, just in shot slightly, is the back of these seats, because every single punter, as we'd say in UK, gets a little bit of individual treatment. There is an enclosure behind every single customer's head, Aaron?
Yes.
And
so each seat,
yes,
1804, has their own custom left, center, right loudspeaker in the chairs. So we're able to move sound directly, right there in front of the listener and create that very intimate experience with Michael's voice.
This was just quite the thing that made me, I've just got to find out more about this system. I've been driving my poor wife insane, she's a very patient lady. And that's a big piece of that fabulous glass smash sound for me, the bit that really made me go, that was absolutely near field for everybody. It's amazing. Wow. So that's one reason, quite apart from the incredible layers of everything that Cirque du Soleil is, which has been reported on 1,000 times by people better than me, but a big piece of the performance is the intensity and quality of that sound. The performers getting straight through that. Lucky that who gets to tear us all apart with her guitar every night, and stuff like that, which is just so cool. Thank you so much, Aaron. This is I'm so looking forward to this. I can't tell you. Just a huge thank you to Maya Sound and all the people who've been involved in organising it. There's yes, just one very happy fat journalist from the UK ready to enjoy the show tonight. Mr. Beck, thank you so much. Just want to shake your hand for having one of the single coolest jobs in the whole of Vegas, dude. Thank you, sir. Cheers. Awesome.
Meet the family.
Hi, I'm Seraldo Moreau.
Hey, I'm Gina Gleason. I'm Valerie.
I'm Xavier Mortimer. Hi, I'm Luke Rendell.
I'm a professional trained dancer. Came originally from Amsterdam. I'm an MJ warrior in the show. We are the spirit, and we keep the legacy and everything from Michael Jackson in his performing and dancing alive. It's a very intense dance part. It's very signature Michael moves. I think Michael would put something like that in his show if he would still be here. For me, it's amazing to be a part of this and to keep his legacy alive.
Hey, I'm Gina Gleason. I'm from Philadelphia. I play live guitar and the character of the Muse. Well, my character in the show is a very big kind of character. It's gold, cape, and huge wig, big shoes, so they needed a big guitar to match the way the costume looked. This big gold kind of pointy guitar, shoots fire. It's really spectacular guitars that we have in the show. It's very cool. I've never worn heels in my life. 6-inch platform heels that come all the way up the leg, and they have these big gold pads all over them, and they look really cool. And then the wig is this huge blonde kind of mohawk looking wig. Altogether, it's about a 2-hour getting ready process. I love my job. I love to play guitar, so the fact that I can come here and play guitar twice every night for all these people, I can't describe. It's amazing.
I play the moon goddess. My name is Valerie Kimani. I am from Kenya, and I love when I fly over the audience and get to connect with them. I am terribly afraid of heights. I am literally, it took me ages to get used to being at that height. Now I feel very comfortable. Now I can kind of try and reach the audience. The part of my performance that I enjoy the most, it has to be Stranger in Moscow. It's so powerful for me because it's so serene and there's snow falling and it's just so beautiful. That's my favorite scene.
My My name is Xavier Mortimer. I'm from France and I'm playing Sneaky, one of the 4 boys and girls who are going to sneak into the show. I love to do magic. I love to see that in the eyes of people when I do a trick, just a card trick, anything, you know, and it's like, wow! I'm still a bit nervous because I think I want to give the best of me. My acts are based on mime and magic, so this is quite precise, the movement that I do with my body to make understand the story and to have the laugh. We have to be very precise on the rhythms, so every day I kind of review everything to see if it was very sharp.
Hi, I'm Luke Rendell. I'm from the UK. I play a cool kid and one of the thriller ghouls. These 4 characters use what's called a slackline. The best way I can describe it, it's a cross between a tightrope and a trampoline. I'm really proud to be a part of the Smooth Criminal number. It's a wow number, people are amazed by it, people go crazy for it, and there's such a classic image of the lean, the dancers doing the lean whilst the smooth criminals, the acrobats in the middle. It's just a beautiful image and you feed off that energy. Hi, I'm Luke Rendell. Come see me at Michael Jackson 1.
Hey, I'm Gina Gleason. Come rock out with me.
Hey guys, I'm Serraldo Moreau. Come watch Michael Jackson 1.
I'm Xavier Mortimer and I'm looking forward to see you at the show.
See you soon!
Don't know what we have available in terms of water or whatever the case is. Shut those lights off. Shut those lights off. Folks, we still have people in the casino. Somebody just tried the door. That's all we know. Somebody just tried the door. There are people still walking around the casino.
Straight down, Luxon's going to be on your right. Second stop sign. So I was staying at my friend's uncle's house, who was like right outside of the Strip. But that night, we just so happened to want to see the Michael Jackson Cirque du Soleil show. And that takes place in Mandalay Bay. So Mandalay Bay has a theater that is just 100% of the time used for that show. So we were in Mandalay Bay for a 9:30 p.m. showing of that show when the shooting happened. So that's why I was there. Yeah, so it was a 9:30 show, as I said. So we were just kind of there to see that. I would say like 35-ish minutes of the show had happened, and then all of a sudden the curtains just kind of shut. And so we were like, oh, is there an intermission? Like super confused. And one of my friends had seen it before, and so we kind of looked at her and we were like, is this normal? Did they do this last time? And she was like, not that I remember. And they didn't say anything. They just said, you know, stay in your seat, like the show will continue soon type of a thing. So we all just kind of, we're just chilling on our phones, thinking nothing of it. But then a full like 30 minutes passed and we were like, okay, like something's going on. And so I immediately thought that it was a shooter, but didn't want to be the one to say it, you know, so just kind of kept my mouth shut. And my friends were thinking that it was just something going on in the casino, and we really didn't know what to think. And then all of a sudden, a guy behind us was checking the news and was on his phone, and the man behind us said, there's a shooter in the building. And so then I heard him, and then I turned to my friends, and we all were kind of like in shock, and we were like, I have no idea what to like think of it at the moment. And then before we could even really react, they came over the PA system and told us, and then they said, we're locking down the theater, no one's entering or exiting, like, we're on lockdown. And they were like, so for your safety, like, don't move. And so we all just kind of stayed put. And that went on for a little while, and I was really hoping that it was like a small type shooting, something they would like resolve really quickly, like one person, one gun, in and out type of an ordeal that we could just, you know, carry on with things like pretty quickly. But that wasn't the case. So they ended up quickly telling us that this was a much bigger thing than they were anticipating it being, and that we were going to be there overnight. So it very quickly turned into like a scene from the Titanic, where they started pulling like the elderly and the children, and they went behind the bar of the theater and started grabbing all the water and started like rationing the water out to people that were sick. And they were working on getting like an emergency bus there, but they told us they could only take 20. So we were not in the group of people that were allowed to go on the bus. So they were immediately just looking for kids and sick to get on out of there. And then because of how many shots were fired, they thought that there were like multiple shooters up and down the Strip and all over the place, and even within the building. And so we had gotten word that there was like another shooter on the 4th floor, which ended up not even being true, but at the time you don't know, so you have to take every safety precaution as if that is the truth and what is happening. So that was probably the scariest part of it, is because we were on like the 2nd floor, because the theater spreads from the 1st to like the 2nd floor area. And so we thought there was a shooter running down the stairs, like from 4th coming to us, because the second most concentrated area of people was the theater next to the Country Fest that he had already hit. So they thought a shooter was running down at us. We had a SWAT team come in. There were like 12 cops in the room. Like, it was ridiculous how much, you know, there was going on in there. And as they're telling us that they're going to turn the lights off because there's a shooter coming and they don't know what's going to happen, and they didn't want him to be able to aim at us, so they turned off all the lights and we just sat in the dark, just like waiting. And then as they turned off the lights and we were waiting, the doors of the theater started shaking because someone tried to enter. And so people started screaming, everyone hit the floor. It was just hysterical. You heard like the guns clock of like the guards trying to be ready in case someone like was able to get through. The doors were locked, but just safety precautions. So that kind of happened. And then we just sat on the floor shaking and waiting for anything to be resolved, and that went on for hours and hours, and I even fell asleep at points, like in and out of like being there and then not being there, and points were super hectic and scary when they thought someone was coming, and then points just kind of felt surreal and like I was just dreaming because I would fall asleep because I was there for so long. So that went on for a very long time, and then they had a whole like line of guards at one of the emergency doors from there out to the street once they figured out that it was like safe enough to remove people. So that was at like 4:30 in the morning, I want to say. So I was there for like over, I think like 8 hours, something like that. And so then they finally got safety buses in, and so they started taking us out in groups of like 30, and we would just like walk out like in between the cops to the bus. And then from there, they shuttled us over to the UNLV stadium, or basketball arena, whatever it was. And we got in there at like 5:30 in the morning, and we had someone waiting there to pick us up, but a lot of people that were staying like on the strip, you weren't allowed back, like everything was shut. So I really don't know what happened to like anyone. We were all just being dropped off in this parking lot and being told like figure something out. And so yeah, so nobody could really go back, and thank God I was not staying in the strip, so I was able to get out of there. But as far as everyone else goes, I have no idea what really happened. So because of the time change, it was ridiculously late back home in Cleveland where my family was. I honestly thought that I was as good as dead for a solid 30 minutes of the whole thing when the screaming happened and the door shook and that whole thing. There was a certain period that I like actually thought that I was going to die. And so at that point, I did send out messages of panic saying goodbye and like love you and stuff like that, that now looking back, I feel like ridiculous having sent, but in the moment it felt like the most appropriate thing that I could do. So yeah, whoever was up definitely, you know, they got updates of every second of what was happening until actually at one point the cops told us, or somebody, whoever it was, there was like another man over the PA that was just working in the theater that wasn't part of the police force, but somebody had told us that we were sitting ducks with our phones because if we turned off the lights to not aim at us, having your phone light meant that they could see you. So at one point I felt unsafe having my phone out, and so once that occurred, I ended up just saying bye to anyone that was up talking to me and then just put my phone away and like kind of prayed for the best. So it was my friend's 21st, and it was like a family trip though. It wasn't like a kid type trip. It was like her and her twins. It was like her parents and her aunts and her uncles, and like it was a family trip that we were out there for, and we were with family the whole time. And then that was like the 1 second that we were like, okay, like we're gonna do something without the adults. So me and two of my housemates decided to split off and go see a show. So that was our big thing that we were doing that separated it from being with the family, and that's of course, you know, when everything happens. So honestly, I think about how unfortunate it is that I sat there fearing for my life for so many hours when in reality, since it was just the one guy, after he was gone, there was no further threat, yet I had to sit there continuing to fear for hours that, you know, there were more out there. And I don't know, I think the worst part of the whole thing is it made me skeptical of everyone that was in the theater with me, which probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but literally we'd be sitting in the dark and a random person would stand up and I was convinced that they had a gun and they were part of this and they were gonna shoot too. And so that was really weird for me. And I think coming out of this, the thing that I'm struggling with the most is like trust that everything's gonna be okay. Our a cappella group had a performance this past Friday at the convention center, and it was kind of a big deal for me walking in there for our sound check on Thursday because I had not been in a big concentrated area theater type setting since then. And it's just, I don't know, at this point it's just scary for me because I never thought in a million years that something like that would happen with me there. Like you hear about it on the news, but you don't think you're going to be a part of it. And so now that I was a part of that, I think more than anything I just like fear it happening again because I did not think that was a reality, and it is. And so that's kind of what I'm struggling with the most at the moment. One of my housemates had a hard time for a couple days after. In the morning, she'd wake up hearing like the screams and stuff in the theater, which hasn't really been happening to me, but she was right there with me, and I know that happened to her, so it just shows how differently everyone's going to come out of a situation like that and the different fears or whatever that we're going to have after something like that. Yeah, so we were fully informed at that point, not that they had told us, but, you know, people have phones and people talk, and so everyone had kind of been communicating within the theater together, and at that point I had been awake for so long, and it was like 5 in the morning, and I was groggy and half asleep and just so relieved to hear that I was going to get out of Mandalay Bay because more than anything, that's what I wanted, was to just not be there anymore. So basically, when a bus finally came that I could get on, me and my friends were just literally half asleep, just standing in a line of people waiting to just get out of there, and it felt very unreal. Like, I can't put words to it. We just walked through a line of police, that were just kind of ushering us off to the bus, and I don't know, it was very, very strange to me to have to think that in order to leave a building, I had to do so standing in between, police officers, which was scary because it made me feel like they still weren't positive that everything was okay or not, because if it was, why did we need to? But I guess it was, because that had been taken care of hours before that. Honestly, coming out of what I did, I wish nobody had any, because then there'd be nothing to fear, but that's not. In an ideal world, I just really wish the guns didn't exist, quite honestly, but it's not the case. So I wish that there was more regulation, and something that really scared me was that, in an airport we go through metal detectors and everything's checked and that's okay, and something that I kept saying, which clearly doesn't make sense, is that, we don't check bags when you check into a hotel, so he could have whatever in his luggage going up there. And it made me really wish that we did have more regulation or stricter rules or something enforced to ensure that somebody couldn't do something like that. But then I kind of realized, we're allowed though, you're allowed to have guns. So even if they did check bags, maybe not what he had, but I don't know. I wish there was something more that we could do to enforce it, but it seems unrealistic. Oh yeah, I literally have videos of me right before it started that I was sending to people, taping how cool it was in there, and it was really cool. It was awesome, and we were so excited, and then out of nowhere, our entire night was flipped upside down. So, and that was our last night there, and so it very much so ruined a very, very fun weekend. Well, I didn't get home right away. My flight got moved an entire day later. I was supposed to be in on Monday, and I didn't get back until Tuesday, which, I guess was fine. It gave me a day to just sit and think and relax, but it delayed things with school a lot, which, believe me, coming back and dealing with the stress of catching up with school was not easy, especially when you really don't want to leave your house or do anything. So I took 2 or 3 mental health days that I didn't do class, I didn't do homework, I didn't do anything, but all of my profs were really, really understanding with stuff, so. Well, my parents woke up to all the messages, and I had updated them that I got out of there and I was home and I was okay. And so I'm sure for them, I can't even imagine waking up and reading that the roller coaster that my messages went through that they had to read. But they immediately called me 1,000 times in the morning, and I was like, no, I'm good, it's all fine. And both of them kind of just kept telling me that although they wish they could have been up to support me through the whole thing, as a parent, it was so much easier to know nothing until they knew I was safe. The first thing they had heard was that, yes, this happened, but I'm fine. So my parents were super relieved that they weren't awake to have to sit and go through the what if type scenarios, because there was none, because I was fine by the time they had woken up and talked to me. It was just people from the theater show, unless, there was somebody that they knew that was at the concert. There was a guy, my phone had died when we were in there, and I was looking for some way to charge it to tell my family that I was okay, and I was in the lobby, and this guy had a portable charger, and everyone was just so comforting to each other, because it was such an intense thing to go through, and he offered me to use his portable charger for a little, and so just to get my phone on and text my family. And so I sat on the floor of the theater with a stranger just talking for a little, and he kept crying and telling me that his daughter wanted to go to that country fest, and she was so adamant about it and was begging him if she could go, and he kept telling her no, and he didn't feel like she was old enough for her first concert type of a thing, and so he didn't end up letting her go, and he kept crying relief to me that his daughter wasn't there. But everyone there was just from the theater, because I don't think from the country fest. I'm not sure what the evacuation was from there. I have no idea where they ended up, but from what I remember, it was just everyone from the theater that had been dropped off at UNLV. I know you weren't allowed to enter the strip, so I guess if they were still there, they could probably stay, but if they were out having dinner or something, we're trying to come back to the hotel, I knew you weren't allowed. You could not enter anything. It was a whole crime scene, literally in the backspace of the hotel, so yeah. And not even Columbus home, just off the strip home, just being out of the main scene of Vegas. I would say hitting a real bed in a suburban home that wasn't out in the Strip is the first second that I felt relieved and I felt better. Emotionally, though, I would say that it's only been much, much better the past, 2 days. Before then, I'd cry randomly a couple times a day and couldn't really explain it. But now it's a lot better. But yeah, my first relief was just getting out of the Strip, I'd say.
Assemblyman Jordan Cunningham says he was at a show at the Mandalay Bay Hotel at the time of the shooting.
So we're in the theater watching the show, and all of a sudden it just kind of stops in the middle of an act, which was really unusual. Then somebody came over the PA and said, we apologize for the interruption, dealing with the situation, or something vague like that.
Cunningham later tweeted out, "My prayers are with the victims, the families of the victims, and the survivors in Las Vegas."
they canceled the show when there was that shooting, right?
Yeah.
That was your second week there or something?
That was my first day shadowing someone.
First day shadowing someone.
Yeah. Shadowing, not even like a performer, it was shadowing carpentry. So just everything that happens behind the scenes. Moving props and up and down on the lifts, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy first day that the Las Vegas shooting
Yeah.
is on your first day of work, pretty much.
Yeah,
At
first day
the
on
same
stage.
theater where it's happening. Like, not the same theater, but the same hotel
Mm-hmm.
that is going on. So can we tell that story? How
Yeah.
did that happen? So, what was your experience? You were in the middle of a show?
We're in the middle of the show, and then all of a sudden the show stopped, and they're like, I didn't even know anyone at this point. Like,
Yeah.
or anyone in carpentry. I knew some of the performers. But I was like, oh, what's going on? They're like, oh, they stopped the show. There must be something going on in the casino, I think. I'm like, oh, okay. So then I kind of follow them back to, like, their room or wherever they go. And then all the performers went to the dance room, which was where we do, like, all of our quick changes. It's, like, right backstage. So I'm, like, separate from everyone right now. So I got people trying to figure out where I am. And I'm just, like, with carpentry. And then... luckily, they have like TV, and they all have walkies.
Yeah.
And then one guy like pulled out like his police scanner app on his phone or whatever. So then they started listening to police scanner and watching the news, and then noticing that like, oh, there's an active shooter here, and that's why the show has stopped. But they didn't announce that to the crowd because they didn't want anyone to freak out.
Yeah, and they wanted everyone to stay in there?
Yeah, they want everyone to stay in there and just stay calm because they need to like control the situation before like.
But you guys couldn't hear shooting?
No,
You couldn't hear the...
It happened. It actually was. I think it was done with before we actually stopped the show.
Yeah, because it probably only lasted like 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was definitely it was done by the time we started. The show was stopped, but then there was a bunch of rumors about like how there's more shooters in other casinos, and then because people are just like scared and just thinking it's stuff.
Of course.
But so then I was just hanging out in that back room with them, with the carpentry guys, watching the news and everything, and I didn't have my phone on me. My phone was actually down in the basement, so there was no way to let Bethany know that I was okay.
Yeah.
But then she also didn't know about it until Amanda got home and told her, and I was like, don't freak out, but there's a shooting happening, and Elijah's there in like the Mandalay Bay, blah blah. But then I finally got someone to escort me down to my phone. We were thinking that's where everyone was gonna be, in the basement. Nobody down there. So then when I grabbed my phone, we tried to find where everyone else was, and they escorted me back up to the dance studio where everyone was, and they were like relieved that I was, there, not just roaming around, because it's like, I don't know, just getting to know like the stage and like backstage area. And then they decided that they're gonna move everyone back down to the basement, so I'm just going everywhere at this point. But there were like police officers on every door with like ARs.
Yeah.
Pretty much like if you were to go anywhere, you have to knock, say your name, let them know who you are before you go through the door. They said if you were to go through any doors quick, you'd probably get shot.
Fuck,
so that was scary going around there. But we got everyone back down to the basement, and we still got some people who have like the police scanners out and stuff. And finally got word that they have found where the shooter was or whatever. Actually, one of the hotel security is the reason why the shooting stopped. He heard about like where the shooting was, so he like went to go check it out, and he got shot, I think in the leg or something. And so because of him showing up to the room, made the guy stop shooting, and then he started firing at the door. So then that's how they knew exactly where he was, and then that's how they came up and.
Oh.
Yeah. So if no one would have responded to that, then it would have kept going on. So he's pretty much like a Vegas hero, pretty much.
He's still alive, right?
Yeah.
Dang, that's a crazy situation.
And then we were on lockdown for like well, let's just say in our normal days where we have trainings, or the earliest we can be in is at like 2. But I'm sure, like, I don't know what their call time was that day because I wasn't training yet. So I would just say, like, our call time normally is 5:30. We didn't get released till about 6 a.m.
Damn.
So we were in
the
lockdown
theater for like 8 hours or
in
more?
the basement with no Wi-Fi, barely any service at all, and they wouldn't even let us out of the out of our dressing rooms until like a couple hours in, and then they're like finally let people start going to the green room where we have Hulu, so that was good.
So you guys were just watching TV?
So then we were just watching movies until we got released, and then we weren't allowed to go to the parking garage to get our cars at all because they thought there was some suspicious activity going on there too. So all of our cars were there, so a lot of us had to like walk and get out of the range of like everything that's going on to catch an Uber or a taxi or something. But like they were blocked off like everything.
So you left your car there overnight?
Yep.
Did they give you a parking ticket?
Mm-mm.
I would hope not.
Well, it's probably parked in employee parking, so I'm probably fine.
That's a crazy first day of work. And
Yeah.
what has the show been canceled for since then? Just like technical difficulties?
Just technical stuff. Yeah.
Full on cancellation of the show?
Not full on cancellation. No, we haven't done that since there hasn't been a full cancellation since that shooting happened. Normally, even if it is like 10 to 15 minutes, it's something that they can like fix or move on to the next act, and they'll just like skip it if they need to. Yeah, there's been times where we don't have like Dirty Diana or something, or you know whatever, so it just goes to the next act.
But you guys always have your trampoline act in the show?
Yes, I've never not done it.
Are you jumping off the top now?
Mm-hmm. That's
So
where
it's
I
like
live.
20-foot trampoline?
It
it 20?
is 18 feet from the bed.
18. So you got trampoline 18 feet up,
Mm-hmm.
and you got 2 trampolines on the side, and your choreography is to jump off, bounce on your back, and come back up.
Yeah.
And you go to the other side?
And do it again.
Is there any flips in this?
Yes.
So you're like doing a branding
So the first one just well, the beginning of the show we have pole drops. So there's a pole, kind of like a Chinese pole, that's on top, and so when you climb up there, you're probably looking at like 23, 24 feet.
Jesus.
Probably like 23 ish, around there.
You're dropping to a trampoline.
You're dropping crooked to a 6x12.
Crooked to a smaller
So
trampoline.
the pole is on like, pretty much if you were to drop straight back from where the pole is, you'd be landing almost on the stage, like between the stage and the frame. So you have to turn and you drop in crooked and then shoot back straight.
To the pole?
You don't have to go back to the pole, you just gotta make it back to the trampoline.
I would hope you would make it back to the trampoline.
Yeah,
Or else
so
what would
you
happen?
start crooked and then you go up, either straight or back to the pole, whatever you feel is normal or like more comfortable doing. Then from there I do a back tuck down right after that, and then I come back up. And then there I do a brainy. This is all at full height. But then when I'm doing the jump back and forth, I think it's at, the tramps are raised 9 inches, I think, which doesn't really
Yeah,
make it seem a lot less than what it is, but for some reason it does make you feel a little safer.
Yeah. 9 whole inches.
Yeah. So then that's when I do the jump back and forth at the very end of the show. Or end of the act.
Wow. And Nightwalkers was 16 from the bed, right?
17.
So you're higher?
Or 17.
Which one would you rather do?
I'd rather have a wall there for sure. Because then if you need to bail, you have a wall to run.
Yeah. There's no wall, so that makes it
I think my first couple of times, maybe my first time, like you get in the habit of wanting to like save yourself, so you want to come forward. There's been times where I've like jumped down, bounced, and like landed like chest and my feet were dangling off the edge.
Oh, and then what happened? You just climbed up?
Just pull yourself up. This is like during training. Just because like at that point you want to save yourself, so you want to go forward and like reach and grab something because you'll feel safer than staying back and just letting your feet go. So.
Wow, that's pretty scary.
Mhm.
Okay, so how did you first start? Did you do trampoline as a kid, or did you do gymnastics?
I was in
And then you picked up-
gymnastics.
You just
So I was
and then-
all around gymnast at all 6 events, 7 events. Floor, bombers, rings, vault.
Did your parents own a gym?
Yeah.
Your parents owned a gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where you and all your brothers trained?
Yeah.
What was it called?
Tumbleweed Gymnastics.
Tumbleweed Gymnastics?
Yeah.
That was in Dallas?
It was in Fort Worth.
Fort
Where it
Worth?
started. And then we eventually moved to another location that was in like Halton. But then our lease got cut early because they wanted to bring something else in that wasn't gymnastics, or in the gymnastics program that ended up not doing so hot. So, and that's when my dad went back to engineering.
And would you say, did you do trampoline a lot? Or was it just kind of like something that was there and you didn't really touch it till you were like older?
I mean, I did tumble track, but it was never like straight trampoline.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. I feel like if I would... Did you guys have one in the gym though?
The first gym we had, it wasn't even a spring floor, it was a foam floor. So I learned all my tricks on. So whenever we went to like gymnastics meets and had spring floors, we would fly because we were used to being on just foam blocks.
Yeah, that
And
if anything probably takes away from your bounce a little bit, huh?
Yeah. But no, I don't think we had a... No, I don't think we did. We just had a tumble track. We didn't have an actual trampoline. But, I mean, we had one in our backyard, but it was a black bed and it was terrible. But I mean, like...
Yeah.
We double bounce each other to get height.
And
Sort of what's happening right now in the world with these crazy kids in the backyard.
Yeah. These kids are just like triple, quadruple bounce, standing all around in those circular trampolines with the nets and just launching kids up in the air. I wonder if anyone has just launched out and totally not landed in the trampoline.
I'm sure they have, but I'm sure they wouldn't post it. I mean, maybe they would, because I know Phil's do a lot
Probably.
better.
They'd
Phil's do
probably
better than
post
wins.
that. Yeah. Huh. Knock on wood, hopefully that doesn't happen, but those kids are... I don't know why they don't just bounce on the nice trampolines.
Well, they're just as dangerous when they go to, like, Tempest or something on the super tramps.
Oh, yeah. The super tramps.
So
I'm not a fan of the super tramp. It's too slow of a bounce for me.
I don't like it either. I don't like it when they put it next to the wall either.
Yeah, no, it doesn't work at all. Yeah, Tempest has it backwards. They have their walls that you could jump off going to the super tramp where it's pointless.
Oh, like the smaller ones that you can use the top for? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind the large wall, though.
Yeah, the large wall is nice, but it would be nice if there was something to jump off of.
Yeah.
Have it backwards there.